You're not acting no more. You just is a clown.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to the morning session.
That was dry as hell. Welcome to the Morning Session Podcast, brought to you by the Morning Session Studio.
Hey.
My name is Orion _New Style, the one and only. And
No, bro, chill. Hey, welcome to the morning session podcast. I'm NetflixDon, and over there we have
Orion
one
_New Style.
whatever his name is, but he just be getting on my nerves sometimes.
We all be getting on each other's nerves sometimes.
So for this podcast as well, what do we have? What do we have?
Since we already talked about something interesting, and if you know where you know where I'm gonna go with
He's
this.
not referring to the discussion we had that he will not post. He's probably referring to something else.
Instagram only, maybe. Anyway, so I was gonna talk about. Let's see, we could either talk about the creation process
The creation process.
on a very sophisticated level, or we could talk about this channel, what's happening, what's gonna be happening to it.
Okay, what's happening to this channel? We can talk about anything else, but I need to know what's happening on this channel.
So, well, I might as well tell you guys this wonderful news. Y'all can
Yes, we have a Facebook page. Check it out.
indeed. And my boy Mark is what again? In May?
Graduate. Yes.
My boy Mark is graduating.
I'm gonna refer to this as a politeness. I'm at this bitch.
Yes, he's out of this. So, depending on how things go after graduation, we might be taking a break, not too big, not too small, of a break for the Morning Sessions podcast. But
Yes.
we
'cause
promise you.
I gotta go get the bag. And I promise not to fumble the bag.
And however, I can still promise you, you
You will get contents. Yes, definitely.
indeed. So watch out for those, and any content that you don't see us.
We wanna do a vlog on a vacation. I'm thinking Dubai, but we don't have enough subscribers to make money like that. So click the like button,
Share the button.
subscribe, share with your friends, send your boy for his graduation to a field trip in Dubai.
Oh yeah,
We're
right.
gonna take the morning session podcast
to
to
Dubai. Take the whole studio with us. To
Or
Dubai.
if you want us closer, we can just go to Bourbon and get it over with. Anyway, what's going on? What's going on? Next
Anyway,
to
that is
podcast?
the announcement for this week, because we're not gonna remember to tell you guys that at any point when he actually graduated. So I'm just making this video and as making sure that I can just drop it whenever we're gonna be taking the break from posting once a week. So thank you guys for following us so far. We're gonna keep putting out content. But just so you know, the Morning Session podcast is gonna be going on a break soon when you see this video. But other than that, let's talk about something that I've always found interesting as somebody who's written before, drawn, been an artist before. Technically, I've been an artist my whole life because I've always been in the process of creating, either from writing, drawing, painting, animating, modeling, to building things. So, and producing this technically is artistry and being a producer.
We all creators, bro.
So I always find it funny.
I have like 6 kids. The creation of my seeds. 7 baby mama.
Why would he cap so hard? Why is he capping so hard?
Alright, that was a lot.
Anyway, so in the process of thinking about this podcast, I just started thinking about something. How remember a while back we were talking about like who we are, and I said something around the line of the us that they're seeing is technically a character for their entertainment and education. So I started thinking about it, and I was starting to think, at what point does that character end, and at what point does it start? Where does that character you create becomes you, and at what point does that character start creating you?
Good question. So what I from what I realized and what I learned is that if you be in someone for so long, you become that person. Just like they say, it only take like what 10 years to master a craft. I was listening. I don't remember the book. So it's like if you do it long enough, you become that, and it will be hard for you not to become that after being that for such a long period of time. Oh, it's 10 hours.
10,000
Ten
hours.
thousand hours. Yeah. So like if you do it for a long period of time enough that you will reach a point where that become you, you know. It's like you're no longer a character. You are a character. You're
Yeah,
not acting.
no, you're no longer playing a character. You are the
Yes,
character you play.
yes. You're not acting no more. You just is a clown.
The one who comes to the court to play the clown becomes the clown himself.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that, except like I didn't like the whole sophisticated idea of like 10,000 hours. I believe that in any process of creation, first of all, there needs to be a separate being that creates something, and then whether you're the one who is recreating yourself for a show, or you're creating a character, or you're acting a certain way for a certain reason, like at some point, that person, the line between you two, like cease to exist, and also at some point, that line is blurred to where the roles sometimes are switched.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it, and I was like, what does it then to what point does a creator, producer, or whatever they are who's producing that content needs to either separate himself from his work, or like become his, like be authentic to his work as himself, instead of creating something for just the audience? Because
I mean,
legit speaking, we could always be flagrant talking about bitches, or just be posting the things about bitches, but we don't want to always be talking about that forever.
Okay, so this podcast,
that's why we're not doing. That's why we don't do it so much, even though we
this
get views.
podcast, regardless of what we discussed in the past, is not a reference directly to like female advice or anything like chasing a woman, seeking a woman, getting a partner. On this podcast, we talk about life, okay? And life, if you're male and you are into female, you will.
Stop trying to be PC about it. Okay, let me just give you the. He's
Like-
trying to be PC about it, but let me tell you this. In this podcast, we talk about everything and anything, which means we could technically talk about anything from money to bitches to how to live your life. But the thing is, like the top two, like the content.
you missed the point.
What I'm saying
podcast is we discuss life.
We discuss everything.
No, we discuss life.
We discuss
everything. Life, there's everything.
You're trying to be PC about this shit. I'm trying to be correct about it. I don't care what you're trying to be about it. But here's what he's trying to say is, we could talk about anything, but the content that has done the best on this podcast is about money.
I'm not referring to the best. I'm referring to what the podcast is, as in life.
I'm referring to both. I'm referring to both, because in this podcast we talk about relationships.
I'm not like you missed the point. I'm not focused on what we discussed before. I'm focused on what the podcast actually is, which is life, where we discuss everything that occur in someone's life.
And where you're going with it is?
No, like you trying to get to the point like we discuss money, bitches.
No, I'm saying that we talk about everything. And to that point, the content that have done the best on this podcast is the one about money and bitches. So at what point do we owe it to them to give them the content they want to watch, instead of talking about things we want to talk about? Or things we know is going to be boring to them, but might be intellectually stimulating for us, is what I'm trying to get to.
Here's the thing. It might be boring to you, or it might not, to some extent, on like the chart. You don't see all the views and stuff like that. Does not mean it's not essential to your life. That's what I'm referring to. It's like this podcast is about life. Like, although you might dismiss it because it's not trending on social media, however, it is crucial to your life. It's like a necessity. It's something that you need. You know,
Mhm.
I don't just talk about. We don't just. I don't like the idea of talking about stuff that would entertain you. I like the idea of talking about stuff that is meaningful to your life,
Okay.
but you might overlook.
And
That's what I'm trying to say.
mhm. And we're looking at like of yours right now. What I'm saying is again reaffirm. Our top podcast is about money, and the second one is about bitches. So the question is, at what point do we say, okay, do we just focus on those two, or do we just talk about, or do we still keep on going on the track? Because like, and going on the track,
I mean,
on the same
like
track.
the objective for this podcast
Mm-hmm.
when we started is to make life subject entertain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we discuss a lot of topic,
Mm-hmm.
and we discuss money,
Okay.
females, and relationship and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And true, the one with the most views is money and female, like relationship and the standards and whatnot. Now, the question to you in the audience is, would you like to narrow the podcast down to um money and female?
Hell no, I'm not doing that. And if you're gonna stick
I
on,
wouldn't do that neither because that would defeat our mission. Although we are here to satisfy the audience also have to understand we are looking to be different. Okay?
I'm different.
The
Yeah, I'm different.
the market for like females on YouTube is enormous.
It is honestly, and they make a lot of money on it too. And they're
The
hella
goal
toxic.
is always seeking the money.
We're hella toxic too, but
Or
dang.
are we giving the people something they lacking? You know? And that's why we on the morning session podcast trying to do to you. Okay?
Okay, then let me ask you this then. At what point does the culture start to dictate where the content goes? Or where you bring the content as a creator?
Okay.
Because right now,
The culture
no, let me finish. Because right now, there's gonna be they're most likely going to be right in the United States within the next 4 months during the summer, probably. Like last summer. Last summer when it happens, we talked about it, but we didn't post it because technical issues. And then right now, there's a trial going on. We're not discussing that. And clearly it affects us. We're black. And currently there's another guy that was shot in the same place again, same area. And we're not talking about that. So at what point would we start allowing the environment and the culture to start dictating what we talk about? Because
okay.
as black people, we rarely touch on something that is prevalent in the culture, which is racism, Black Lives Matter, police shooting. We mostly focus either on the economical aspect of it and the corruption aspect of it from what we've talked about so far.
Mhm.
So at what point do we let the culture dictate and keep the people up to the news of what's going on in our opinion of it?
Okay. So as I said, right, before we discussed life.
Mm-hmm.
In life, many factors take role, you know. It's like everything play a role in your life. Racism is an issue we're dealing with. Police brutality, brutality against police, or whatever you wanna call it. Black Lives Matter, strictly an call for the race or whatever.
Regardless of that.
Yes. On this podcast, it's like, although there are a lot of things to be touched on, we cannot cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
well,
should we ramp up our production?
no, this about life. I have one outside of this podcast.
So basically, what we're telling you guys right now is, if you still want us to be hilarious, funny, entertaining, and still be looking this great and getting the bag, you need us to only be producing this podcast once a week.
Not necessarily. It's just that we don't neglect our lives for the sake of like producing.
Yes, exactly. And that also comes back to the point of, as creators, we have, while we own it to you guys to be authentic, not own it to you guys. Let me rephrase it. As creators, while we own it to like not become the content we create, we also own it to ourselves, not to like remove ourselves from who we are for any other reasons. Hence why we're probably always gonna keep. Well, I personally always gonna keep me on the podcast separate from me off the podcast. At least in my opinion. And also something like, okay, and I think this brings us to one of our segments that we did before, which is sorry to offend you.
I have have nothing to say.
This has been the Morning Session Podcast. I've been your host, Orion_New Style.
This is ridiculous.
And we might be cutting a lot of this out.
That land was ridiculous. I mean, to each his own. Everyone has their own life. They are on there for different, like